Well, good morning and welcome to day number 2 of Morning Coffee with Devin. Once again, I've got my coffee. Hope you have yours. Now, in case you're wondering, the only way to drink a cup of coffee is black. Don't put creamer in it, don't put sugar in it, nothing like that. That just ruins the coffee. Now that we've got that all figured out, let's have a good morning. Now, before we get started discussing our normal stuff, I just wanted to take a moment and share with you something that I heard this morning that I thought was really interesting. I'm sure it'll be all over Facebook and other social media later on today, but Matt Lauer of NBC was fired due to an allegation of sexual harassment. And that's one of many that's coming out right now. I didn't hear if it was confirmed that he actually did what he was accused of or not. But he was fired, and so that will be a very interesting transition for NBC. He's been a part of that network for as long as I can remember, and I'm sure longer than that too. But my real question is, who's going to co-host the Macy's Day Parade next Thanksgiving? Now, yesterday I said that I was going to start a new thing called 30 Days to Habit, and I said that today I would let you know what habit I was going to start for the next 30 days. So the habit I want to start is that I want to be in better shape. I want to start working out, and it's difficult because I haven't worked out in a while, really, truly, probably since high school. And it's hard to just get back into a routine, not to mention I have a pretty busy schedule. So time is kind of scarce. So trying to come up with time to do something like that is difficult. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start using an app called the 7-Minute Workout. You can get that on the App Store. It's free. I think there might be some paid features, but it is free, the part that I'm using. And basically what it does is it reminds you each day that you need to work out, and you don't work out for 45 minutes, anything like that. The name kind of implies the way that it's set up. You work out for 7 minutes, and it has some pretty rigorous workout routines that you do for a certain period of time, then you rest for a certain period of time, then you jump back in and you start working out again. So it's really good for getting started, and I feel like it would be a great thing for me to begin. I think I can find 7 minutes in my day somewhere to work out real quick. So if you want to follow along and do the same thing I'm doing, you can download it on the App Store. I actually started last night and everything went well. It's been a little bit since I've really worked out like that, so I was pretty out of breath. But you may be wondering why I'm wanting to do this. And the truth is, after I got married, I've gained about 30 pounds. Now, that may not seem like a whole lot. Before I gained those 30 pounds, I was pretty skinny. But for me, it's just one of those things that I've been married for 2 years now, and if I've gained 30 pounds, and that means that I'm averaging 15 pounds a year. And I feel like it's something that maybe it's not that big of a deal today, but I feel like it will be a big deal if I don't get a handle on it. Now, something that I've learned about habits that I'm trying to live out, I really want to share with you, is that you have to cross the finish line before starting the race. You know what I mean by that? I mean, you need to have in mind where you want to go. You need to visualize success. You need to figure out what success looks like before you start. Otherwise, you'll just be going aimlessly through the motions. But if you have in your mind what you want the end to look like, what you want the finish line to look like, then it'll make your day-to-day activities more intentional, more meaningful, more profound, and I believe more successful. So remember, cross the finish line before starting the race. Now, for me, the finish line looks like getting back to the shape that I was in right whenever I got married. I felt like that was the best that I've ever looked, ever felt, the healthiest I've ever been. And so I want to get back to that point. If I could do that, then I believe that it would set a good foundation for going above and beyond that. So that is my goal for the next 30 days. I've got a picture of that on my phone, on my home screen, of what I kind of look like at that point in time. And that is my inspiration. That is my visual. That's what I want to get back to. So that is my finish line. I'm crossing it before I start. That way, each morning that I get up, I have that in my mind, and I'm there even before I get there. Now, the last thing I want to share with you today is something that I've really been doing a lot of study on, a lot of research on, and I found a lot of really, really impactful things about this. and it's the method of problem solving. And I just want to touch on the very first part of this, and we'll talk about a little bit more as we go forward. So when you're dealing with a problem, the very first thing you need to do is to define the problem. And there's three main questions that we're going to ask whenever we define the problem. And the very first question is this a problem? Now, a lot of times people look at this kind of stuff and they say, well, of course it's a problem, otherwise we wouldn't be dealing with it, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But that's really not what you need to think about whenever you're asking, is this a problem? What a lot of people fail to do, and I think this is why problems don't get solved and we have a very selfish society, is that when we ask, is this really a problem, what we're really saying is, does this bother me? Does it inconvenience me? Is it something that I don't like, that I would like to be fixed? And that's really not the question that should be asked at all. All throughout history, the people that we would consider geniuses, Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein, people like that, Thomas Edison, people like this, they didn't just tackle a problem the way that the average person tackles a problem. They would look at the problem from every perspective they possibly could consider. Now, a big part of that is analyzing and trying to see through somebody else's eyes. Now, that's a very difficult thing, and I feel like empathy is something that our society lacks tremendously. Understanding somebody else's perspective, understanding where someone else is coming from. I would say as a whole, society is not taught to do that, and we really struggle with it. But we need to learn how to empathize if we ever want to be true problem solvers. So this is kind of the way that I would encourage you to go about problem solving, is when you look at something, I want you to ask yourself this question: does this benefit anybody else but me? That's the first thing I want you to just kind of focus on. That does this benefit anybody else but me? Now, the second thing I want you to focus on is there information that I'm not aware of? And the answer to that question is always yes. There's always going to be something that you don't know, because you're not everybody and you don't know what everybody else is thinking. So when you're problem solving, don't just base it on your opinion. Don't just base it on the facts that you have. Investigate, search it out, try to figure it out. Especially whenever you're dealing with a leader or something like that, where you think they're doing something wrong and there may be a reason why they're making the decision that they're making. They may agree that it's not the best, but given the circumstances, it may be the best for the situation at hand. So you need to first ask, does this benefit anybody else? Then secondly, you need to ask, is there information that I'm not aware of? Remember, the answer to that question is always going to be yes, even once you investigate, but investigate as thoroughly as possible. Whenever you do that, begin to look at it from different perspectives. So my point in this is I want you to realize that your perspective is not the only one that matters. When you're looking at a problem, that's not the only thing that you need to be considering. So whenever you ask, is it a problem? And then you stop and say, okay, does anybody benefit? Oh, if they do, then you've got to realize it's not a problem for everybody. It's an inconvenience for me. And that's something that's very important, and I feel like most people confuse problems with personal inconvenience. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this segment of Morning Coffee with Devin. I've enjoyed sharing some of my experience with you. All right, remember to cross the finish line before starting the race, and I hope you have a wonderful day.